الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا مولانا محمد وآله وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين. اللهم رب زدنا علما. One very important distinction in philosophy and other disciplines, I guess, conceptual distinction. Is that of between reality and the perception of reality. And this distinction is important not just at the level of sense perception, but also at the level of phenomenology of perception in general. Because there are two things happening here. Reality is there, and reality asserts itself. You can't just walk through a wall. There's this reality of the wall. So that's one aspect which should be emphasized. But perception of the reality is also important. Very important, because at times perception of reality rather than a reality determines reality as such, I should say, determines the course of history and your actions. And this is because of a basic fundamental distance, not a divorce, but distance between reality and our perception. Which is our defining characteristics of human perception. And I guess this distance is smaller when it comes to brute reality, brute or simple reality. But if it comes to complex reality and the relationship between human societies and social groups and social reality, for example, where physical reality and other realities are combined or interpenetrated, this distance is larger. And more the distance, more the possibility of error, for example, and also the possibility of error and the possibility of I'm not sure what I was going to say. The second thing, the more the distance, the more the possibility of, larger the distance, more the possibility of error. Okay. So for example, question of wall, if you want to walk through wall, it's a more simple case, I guess. The distance is very short and the gap between the reality and the perception of reality is small. And if we make any wrong move, then we would soon realize that reality can actually itself correct our error. For example, if by the force that wall will exert against my body, but if I am in an open space, there's a lake, there's a water, and the sun is out, so reality, there are a lot of elements of reality that are interacting. The reality is more complex there. So the distance between perception and reality is larger distance, and the possibility of error is also larger. And ultimately reality will correct us, but the distance between the reaction of the reality, so the space of maneuvering, the space of maneuver between reality and ourself is larger. We won't instantly realize our mistake if we make a mistake. If the reality is more complex, like social reality, historical reality, these distances are even much larger, and the correcting mechanism of reality is more roundabout. So that's why societies can make mistakes and still can keep going for a long time, because the distance between reality and its complexity and human action and their consequences is much larger. The distance is larger, the space of error and the space of maneuver is larger, etc. I'll just give one example and then we'll finish this off for a while. For now, I mean. So for example, inflation, for example, it's a social reality. And the other thing is perception of inflation. The huge distance between these two things. And generally what it's possible that reality is going one side and your perception is going other side, and your perception will actually, in that case, guide your action. inflation might be high or low, but if your perception is that it is high, that will determine your action rather than reality itself. So for example, and this happened during the revolution, for example, if a population thinks that they are persecuted or they are discriminated against, even if in reality, all things being considered, they are not discriminated against, or not as much as they are thinking. But what is going to determine the people's action and the course of history is probably our perception or not the reality itself. So if a population thinks that there's a shortage of food and there is no counter stark reality to deny that, so even in reality, if there's no shortage of food in the long run, people's perception, if they are strong, they will determine their action rather than reality itself. So that's why a lot of time revolution might happen because of the perception of people rather than the reality as such. Okay, I'll stop.